Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I keep my promises, and just as I have promised, on the line, it's the man, it's the myth, it's the legend, it's the one and only T-Boz, bringing you words of wisdom and moments of meditation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I just made it. The coffee just came down in the Keurig.
Are you bringing me any? Are you bringing me any? That's the thing.
I mean, there's the big pot for the students, but all of a sudden, I thought I had another minute. That was close. Welcome in. Good morning, Mr. Williams. Nice to have you back. Yes, Jock announced earlier we had some weather challenges and we had some other things, but at Community Radio, Torrington WAPJ, we return. This is volunteer, and so sometimes life and circumstances kind of hits us left and right, but undaunted, we persevere, as St. Paul says, and we arrive. So good morning, everyone. So nice to see you. We're not dealing with snow. Thank you, George, letting everybody, wow, we got a big group of guys. George, can you take the microphone? Who's the big group of guys in the back? Knights of Columbus, Torrington. What council? 55. Nice to have you. Nice to have you. There's another group. George, can you get the mic over there? Oh, there's Assembly of God Church. Oh, you're on the east side, on the left, as you're going out of town. Nice to have you guys. Nice to have you and ladies of that group. Fantastic. There's Miriam. There's Big Dave and Sylvia in the background. Hi. Great to see you. Smiling, laughing. And yes, we are back. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of pencils. If you guys need anything, George by the door will help you. 5 months to go to the wedding. Oh, Diana for George. 6 months to me, but George and Alicia. Oh, Diana's invited, not me. Okay, anyway. So everybody's in red. Everybody looks great. Diana's over there in red. I want to draw your attention, if we can get the camera, this one thing, and I know sometimes some of my fans go, Tommy, you digress too much. We want the message. This thing George brought in, he showed it to me. He made this when he was a kid. Remember art, this is our Valentine special, right? So remember art class, everyone. Most of you listening went to school in the 60s, late 50s, early 70s. But in an art class, the teacher came in, right, George? And you had the doily. Remember the doily, the paper doily? And then she gave you a red piece of paper, and you traced half a heart on it, and then you cut it. Remember the scissors that were rounded? And you cut the hard construction paper. And when you opened it, it was a heart. Remember that? And then you glued it. Remember the glue, the big brown glue? It looked like a pig's nose, that thing. And you glued the heart to the doily. Remember that back in the day? And then you wrote, always to your mom. What George brought in is the doily he made and the heart years ago for his mom. I had to share that because I know a lot of you have went to school in those days and you remember vividly the white doily, the red heart that magically appeared when you followed what the art teacher traced, the half a heart. So thank you, George, for bringing that in, and all the other decorations look great. Let's get over to Stan. Stan, the coffee man, and he's all in red pants, red sandals, too, and red socks. Wow, red hat. You look great. What do we got in the pot, Stan, for our post Valentine special? We have Hearts of Fire. Ooh, everybody say it with me. Dave's nodding in the back. Hearts of Fire, very good. And we have heart-shaped cookies, which is great, and chocolate-covered strawberries. Oh, Stan, you're killing us over here. Who is the sponsor today, Stan, for this lovely Valentine table? Kelly's Crystals, where I got Lady Diana's engagement ring. And though Valentine is past, if you guys have anniversaries, birthdays, anything's coming up, go downtown. It's a great boutique. She's been in business 11 years. Who says you can't stay alive downtown? Even without the Yankee Peddler, she's been down there. So go visit Kelly. She's there most times and all of that. All right, we're going to roll along here. Before we get into the format, can you tell I'm a little pumped up? Haven't seen you guys in a while. Yeah, you're okay. Come on in. Before we get to the format and all of that, how did Valentine's Day originate? Okay, it started as a Christian feast day in honor of a martyr. His name was Valentine, who was beheaded on February the 14th, 6 A.D. That's a long time ago. I was not in high school in those days. 26 A.D. And the Emperor Claudius beheaded him. So why did our buddy Claudius take out Valentine? Well, first of all, Valentine was trying to convert Claudius to Christianity. No, 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 no. We won't have any of that in pagan Rome. That's a bad thing to do. And then the other thing he was doing was, this is romantic, he was marrying couples secretly in a Christian ceremony rather than in the Roman pagan ceremony. No, 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 no. Claudius would not have none of that. So that was also cause for beheading the dear saint. But the really romantic thing is that when Valentine was in prison, he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. You know those big hairy guys, you've seen him on Ben-Hur, you know, those. Well, he fell in love with the jailer's daughter. She used to bring him food and whatever, and instead of eating the rats that were running around. Took him to be beheaded. He left a note for her, and he said, "Always your Valentine." Isn't that beautiful? So that's where we get all of that. And I think that's very romantic. So our buddy Claudius, well, he got his in the end. They poisoned him, and they killed him. And then it was 300 A.D., our buddy Constantine turned the Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire, into the Holy Christian Empire, and so Claudius went down. Anyway, so Claudius was a very mean guy, but gave us this wonderful saint, Saint Valentine. Also, the roots of Valentine's Day go back to the Roman fertility holiday. Jock just sat up in the chair. Easy down, brother. And it's called Lupercalia. And Lupercalia means fertility in Italian, and that was February the 15th. So pick what you want for the origins of Valentine's Day, and you guys can go with what you want there. I like the letter in the jail. All right, top 10 romantic songs. I picked these myself. I didn't get them off the web. George has a whole table in the back. It's all printed out. When you leave, you can take this and listen to these songs. Here we go. The Dance by Garth Brooks. We start with that one as number 10, The Dance. All right? Let's see what we got here. Okay. From there, we have The Nearness of You, 1937, great Hoagie Carmichael song. We've Only Just Begun, 1970, Connecticut's Carpenters. Yes, the Carpenters were from Connecticut. My Heart Will Go On, Celine Dion, The Titanic, 1997. The Gift by Jim Brickman. Everybody thinks it's a Christmas song, but it's not. That came out in 1997. Above that, in number 5, we have Here, There, and Everywhere, 1966. Believe it or not, Paul McCartney's favorite song he ever recorded with the Beatles. Number 4, Endless Love, the 1981 hit by Lionel Richie. And then number 3, Beautiful, another song by Jim Brickman, and that came out in 2012. It's an amazing song. Check that one out. This song here, number 2, all my 50s friends are 50s guys are going to know this one. 1959, This I Swear Is True. Listen to the Skyliners version. 1959, so quintessential 50s harmony. A beautiful, beautiful song. This I Swear Is True. Get the Skyliners version. There's a couple others. Listen to that. It is a classic. And then in number 1, my pick is All I Ask of You from the 1986 Broadway play Phantom of the Opera. Beautiful words in that. So that's my number 1 pick. You guys can juggle these around. You can make your own list. But listen to those songs. And even on a nice winter night or a spring night, you can cuddle up with the one you love and go from there. So now, let's get to our format. We're going to explore love. We're going to explore romantic love. I know a lot of you have love of your pets. I know Lady Diana loves Dexter. I love him too. We have love of family, love of friends, love of parents. But today's program is our Valentine. We're going to be talking about relationship love, okay? So we're going to be talking about love. We're going to have some funny quotes. We're going to have some spiritual quotes. We're going to have some song lyrics in there. We're even going to have a quote by Shakespeare that I will do in full Shakespearean voice for the fun of it. And then we also have at the end a very sad story. A lot of you like the realism of my life. You're going to get it. A sad story, but then it ends happily. And when we talk about couple and relationship love, George, can you dim the lights a little bit, please? A little bit more. Okay. Everybody put your pens down. I want you to close your minds and open your hearts. Whether you're heterosexual, gay, or transgender. The human heart, regardless of the case that it's in, loves. I have someone that I know went through a terrible divorce. He's gay. He hurt as much as I would as a heterosexual man. He hurt deeply. So when we talk about Valentine's Day and relationships, we're talking about all relationships. The human heart feels love regardless of sexual preference. The human heart feels pain when someone dies, feels joy, and feels happiness. A lot of us, you see that quote at baseball games, for God so loved the world, 3:16. They hold it up at baseball games. I don't know why, but they hold it up there, right? But what everyone doesn't say is the second part of that. For God so loved the world that he sent his son, not to condemn it, but to redeem it. So why are we missing part 2 of that verse? Why are we condemning people who don't look like us? Boom. Today's program, whatever your sexual preference is, whatever relationship you have, come in. For God so loved the world, he sent his son to redeem it, not condemn it. Okay? George, turn up the lights. Let's get started with our first part here. An unknown person said this, and I like this. It says, love is just the word. Actually, my brothers and I had a song called Goodbye is Just the Word. But anyway, love is just the word until someone comes into your life and gives it meaning. Boom, bang, ba-boom. And when I found that quote, I thought of Lady Diana. I was full of emotion, waiting for someone to receive that emotion, someone who was really worthy of that emotion. And when that woman said to me back in May 26th, Tommy, can I help you? She opened the doors of my heart, and I was able to find meaning. So love, it's only a word, but someone comes into your life and gives you meaning, like Sylvia, like I know my friends Kath and Bill, and Jim and Peggy, Barbara and Stan, Stephen and Lynn, and Darcy and her husband Ronnie. It goes on and on and on. If we look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13, and it says, so now faith, hope, and love abide, these 3. It means they live all together. But the greatest of these is love. So isn't that strange? Because we're supposed to have faith in God or faith in whatever our spiritual compass is, right? We're supposed to hope for the future, right? Our best days are ahead. But love is over all of them. Because love is the fuel for faith. If you're going to be faithful because you love what you believe in, if you're going to have hope, you're going to love the fact that maybe something you're doing or the people you're working with is going to help you do something for the community, the country, and the world. Remember we talked about the 4-H pledge, right? So love, it holds them all together. We look further at Colossians chapter 3, verse 14, and it says, and over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together. The key word there, boys and girls, is binds. Boom. Just think of that. You see faith, hope, and love, and like this rope around them, and it binds them all together. Little faith and hope without love, they're just going to filter away. They're just going to roll down the hill. But love is that strength that binds it all together. And the reason why we love is because it says in John chapter 4, verse 19, for God loved us first. We didn't invent love. Love comes from God. And you could take all the religions in the world, even Hindu, Swami, all of them. When you trace them all the way back, this is the bad news, boys and girls. They're all going to come back to the God of Abraham. For God loved us first. Before even the ones who are not born yet, God loves. We can't invent love. We can love, but we can't create it. We're just human. But the source of perfectness, of fullness, God loved us first and infused that into ours. And so that's why we love. We love because God loved us first. We didn't have to prove anything. We didn't have to jump. We didn't have to do anything. I said this last year, like the mother who loves the baby inside her. The baby didn't buy her a Mother's Day card or a Valentine's Day card, but she loves that child. God loved us first. We looked at Jane Austen. I love this. I thought of Lady Diana for this one too. Perhaps it's our imperfections that make us so perfect together. Boom. No one, boys and girls, loses themselves in a relationship. And I'll tell you about being imperfect. You guys like the human stories. My late wife and I used to go to 4 o'clock Mass back at St. Francis back in the day before she passed away. We went for years. And my kids called it date night. Mom and Pop go to Mass, and then they go out for pizza or whatever, right? We did that for years. And one day we pull up to the church, St. Francis, I'll never forget it. And she doesn't pull into a parking spot. She pulls up by the door. So I get out thinking she's going to park the car. The car doesn't move. I look at her in the car. I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm not coming in. I said, what do you mean you're not coming in? She goes, I don't get anything out of it. She goes, I've tried. I read the missal. I just get nothing out of coming to Mass. She goes, I'll take you and I'll pick you up, but I'm not going to go anymore. Wow. Right? When she died, a friend of mine said to me, Lori must have really been in love with you, and you must have loved her, and you must have had a very strong relationship. I said, this woman's name was Jen. I said, why do you say that? She said, because she was able to say to you, I'm not going to Mass, and she didn't think that your whole marriage would crumble because of it. Boom. In a true loving union, we do not lose our identities. Our individuality is what makes us stronger. We can be safe to be ourselves. Anything less than that is codependency. Codependency is not love. Love is what my wife said, that she was able to be free in herself and her mind and say, honey, I'm not going to go to church anymore. I'll pick you up and take you. But at the end of that, she also said, tell me what the priest says at Mass. And one Sunday I came home, I went out in the yard to do yard work, and she got on the porch and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing some work in the barn. She said, but you didn't tell me what happened at church. She was free. In a real relationship, our imperfections is what make us perfect together. In a true loving relationship, we don't lose our identity. We keep our individuality. It makes us whole. We don't want a clone to be our partner. Anything less than that is codependency. It is 11:30, Jock, so why don't you spin the sponsors, and then we'll keep going with love. Well, I guess I'm a little early with the sponsors. Mr. Williams, I know you had some administrative things to do.
I am here and want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for allowing us to bring you the quality community radio programming that we're doing at this time. We want to encourage each and every one of you to send your request to wapj.org if there is public announcements that you would like to make or community affairs and events that you would like to promote. We are here for you because we understand that there can be no community without you in it. So with that being said, we'll return the floor back over to T-Boz for more words of wisdom and moments of meditation.
Thank you, Loverboy. Oh, that was an 80s band. They were pretty good. We look at Irma Brombeck. Here's a funny quote, okay? Here's Irma Brombeck. She says, marriage has no guarantee. If that's what you're looking for, then go live with a battery. Like, batteries have a guarantee. That's very true, marriage. So I threw some funny ones in there. I think that's a good one. Katharine Hepburn says, love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, okay? Love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, only what you are expecting to give, which is everything, the great actress said. So when you're going into a loving relationship or you're in a loving relationship, you're not in it for what you're going to get, but what you're willing to give, as Katharine Hepburn says, which is everything. In my relationship now, I give, and I'm not talking about money. Are you listening to your spouse or your significant other? Are you taking an interest in what they do? Maybe they read, maybe they knit, maybe they sew or something, or play golf, okay? Or maybe he likes to go fishing. Are you taking a general interest, okay? Are you listening, like I said? Are you sharing time with each other? Are you making time for one another? This is what Katharine Hepburn is talking about, okay? So what are you're not going in and, well, I'm going to get this out of this. But what are you willing to give, which the late actress says is everything. This is an unknown quote. It says, there is always room for love. You just have to move a few things. Bing, bang, boom. What are the few things you have to move? Us, me, you, we. They're not talking about physical things. You got to move some things. When people say to me, I'm set in my ways, that's the worst thing you could ever say. You are a work in progress. You're not done until you're done. Okay? Some of the greatest saints of all time, all right, some of the greatest athletes. We did a show about baseball players back in the spring. They evolved into the great players they were. Some of the saints were zero when they started, and they evolved. So you don't go through your life saying, well, I'm set in my ways. No one's ever going to change me. Well, then you know what? That's pretty sad. Because you're evolving, you're growing, you're learning new things. So when it says there's always room for love, you have to move a few things. If you really want something to work, you got to wiggle, you got to change. You got to get rid of some of those bad habits you had from 1962. You know, you got to be open-minded. You got to realize the world is not just the way you think it or I think it. What do I say about this show? You, me, and we. I find faults in myself. That's what motivates me to find these quotes. Most of these quotes, you know who I'm talking to? Me. So you got to move a few things if you want a relationship to work, if you're really in love. Here's another funny quote. This is great. I thought of Lady Diana again. All right. Elizabeth Evans came up with this one. Here you go. I love you more than coffee. Please don't make me prove it. And we drink a lot of coffee on the weekend. But, you know, I love you more than coffee. Please don't make me prove it. So, you know, you could have fun in a relationship. And, you know, don't take yourself too seriously. George Strait has a beautiful lyric to his song. And I'm actually going to sing it because I want this show to be enjoyable. And it's his great song. And it goes like this. In all the world, you'll never find a love as pure as mine. And there's the word, a love as pure as mine. Is your love for the person you're with pure? Or is it manipulative? Or is it controlling? Or is it codependency? Love that comes from God is pure. So our love to each other in our relationships, romantic relationships, is it pure? Are you with the person accepting them for their imperfections, as Jane Austen says? Are you in it for the purity of it? Or are you in it because you can gain something? Or do you feel that someone is gaining something from you? So in all the world, can you actually say this? Can you actually say this to your significant other? In all the world, you'll never find a love as pure as mine. You can write that in the card next year, boys. It'll be a good one. But think of your purity and act with a pure heart. Act with a heart that's open. Act with a heart that's loving. Lao Tzu says this, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength. Okay, and I agree with that. While loving someone deeply gives you courage. Boom. Why does it give you courage? Because you got to move a few things. You can't be set in your ways. Courage. To love someone deeply, you got to give up.
Jesus loved us so deeply, he had the courage to go to the cross. Forget about the cross, just the killed most of us. That's courage. And there's an interesting quote that comes right after this, and this is for those of you who may be ending a relationship, thinking of ending a relationship, in a relationship where you don't know where it's going. Listen to this. Okay, everybody put your pens down. I made copies of this, George, that's with the song list. Please make sure everybody gets one. Okay, it says this. The courage it takes to leave behind what is not for you anymore is the same courage that will help you find your way to what is. Boom. The courage that'll help you leave what is not yours anymore. Key word is anymore. Not one day it'll come back. Maybe it'll change. What is not yours anymore. But that same courage will take you to what is. What is this person saying? Walk away. Walk away. Let it go. It's not there anymore. And you're spinning your wheels 1,000 times to try to make something out of nothing. There is something waiting, someone waiting for you. Go right back to our original quote. Love is a word. It gets its meaning when someone comes along that fulfills it. Okay? Courage will help you, take you to what is. There is something for some of you better, more loving. You know, I want to be, I'm in a relationship now where someone cares about me, not for me. I'm not a dog. Okay? I want someone to care about me. That's the difference. That's not codependency. We move on to Thomas Merton, and he was an American Trappist monk and born in 1915, died in 1968. Love is our true destiny. So he feels that's our true destiny. We do not find the meaning of life alone. Okay, we don't find it alone. We find it with another person. And notice Merton didn't put here woman, guy. Okay, we find it with another person. Like I said earlier, some of you in the audience and people listening have different sexual preference, and you're finding the meaning in life, and you're finding love, and your togetherness, and you're going skiing, and whatever you're doing, putting up the Christmas tree. Great. You're finding that connection, right? We go back to the book of Genesis. God saw the man was lonely. So what did he do? He created Eve. And so we do not find the meaning of life alone. So search for that special someone. Take the courage to walk away from what you might be and wrap all the virtues in love. Don't worry about your imperfections. And do what Katharine Hepburn says. Give everything. Charles Schultz, he was lonely as a GI in the 1950s, so he came up with Charlie Brown. And he says this, all you need is love, but a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt. Boom. So some chocolate. Again, this is another funny quote. So if you're sitting on the couch and you didn't finish the heart full of chocolate this weekend, finish it now while you're watching a romantic movie or listen to a romantic song. Osho, O-S-H-O, he says this, love is not about possession, it's about appreciation. And we go right back to the story about my late wife and going to Mass. I did not possess her. Possession would have been, God, fuck that car. You know, you're Catholic, we're Catholic. You know, all that stuff that I can't stand. I didn't possess her, right? She had an individuality. She was a human being that God created. I didn't create her. She had a separate DNA. She was allowed to speak her mind freely in a relationship. So I didn't possess her, but I appreciated her right to make up her own mind. If I wanted someone like me, then I would have had a puppet. I didn't want a puppet. I want a lover. I want someone that not has to view things the same, but to have the same vision moving forward. Lady Diana and I could not have been more different from each other, but our eyes are looking in the same direction. taking our differences with us. Love is not possessing someone. It's appreciating them. All right. Here's Shakespeare. How are we doing? Oh, good. Okay. Here's Shakespeare. Got a very cool song, by the way, from a group from Santa Barbara, and something you didn't think I would pick, but I did. Okay. Here we go. Shakespeare, Hamlet. He wrote somewhere around 1599 to 1602. And here's my, this is beautiful, and it's going to lead into my story. Here's what Shakespeare says. All right? You guys could use this. Doubt thou that the stars are fire. Doubt that the sun does not move. Doubt that truth be a liar. But never doubt I love. Boom. So doubt that the stars are fire, doubt that the sun moves, doubt the truth could be a liar, but never doubt that I love. And if Lady Diana is listening, or she'll listen later, that's just for you. And I hope everyone in this classroom can turn to their significant other, spouse, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance, whatever. Those of you listening on the air via Zoom, look at the person you love. Doubt everything, but don't doubt your love. Now, we're going to move into a story. A lot of you like the personal stories. And I'm going to go back 10 years ago to the first Valentine's Day that my wife was deceased. So, and I want to share this story, and maybe it might be a little heavy for some of you, but like Jock says, it's your show. So, and then we have a very short takeaway. My first Valentine's Day. So I walked up to Big Y here in the North End. It was wintertime, obviously. It's February. I had a big, heavy coat on and all of that. And I was able to see better in those days. And so I walked up to Big Y, and I go over, and my wife liked yellow roses, so I got a yellow rose. And then I walked over to where the cards are, and I found the card. I couldn't tell what was on it, but I picked it out because I just liked the color. And then I walked, and I stood on line, and ahead of me was about 7, 8 guys in line to pay for their flowers that they were buying. And as I was standing there, my wife is deceased. I was 58 years old. I was standing there. I hear the lady at the counter say, "And what's your girl's name, your wife's name?" And he would say, "Bayo," and he'd write it down. And then he would walk away, and the next guy would walk up. "Oh, what's your wife's name? What's your girlfriend's name?" "Oh, it's," because there's always guys on these lines, right? The women shop early. And so he says, "Marianne," whatever it is. And she writes it down. Oh, and then he walks away. A couple more guys, and now it's my turn. And I walk up to the girl, I look at her, and my lip is quivering, my eyes are a little wet. And she says, I still had my wedding band on at the time, so she says, "What's your wife's name?" And I looked her straight in the eye, and I said, "My wife is dead." And she said, "How did you get here?" I said, "I'm visually impaired. I walked." And the tears that were coming down from my face, I couldn't even see the girl anymore. She said, "What's your name?" I said, "Tommy." She said, "Tommy, let me pin the flower in your jacket so you don't lose it. And I'll pin the card to the jacket on the other side so you don't lose it." I said, "Okay." I paid her. Tears, just tears. I walked out of Big Y like a little kid with a flower and a card pinned to me. It was a good idea. As I looked out in the parking lot, I could see some of the guys that had made purchases, and they're getting into their trucks, and they're high-fiving each other. "Hey, how's it going?" And they're laughing. And I'm shaking. And I'm just bawling. Tears like I've never had before. Tears just running down my face, running all over my jacket. You would have thought it was raining. My arms just shaking. I walked home, crying the whole way, all the way down Bottoms Avenue. I come in the back door. I go in the living room where my late wife, Laura, used to sit. I walk in. I look right at the chair. It's empty. And I said, "I bought you a Valentine present." And I took the card and the flower, and I held it out as if she was there. And then I collapsed. I collapsed. Right there. Right to my knees. just tears. Awful. This year, I walked into 171 New Britain Avenue. And there was the most beautiful woman waiting for me with a wonderful dinner that she had made. But this time, the candy and the flower and the card were not pinned to my coat. I held them in my hand. And I gave them to her. And I said, Happy Valentine's Day. I love you. My friends, if you're in a relationship, you're with your wife or husband or significant other, don't take them for granted. Because one day you're going to drop to your knees. Nothing will prepare you for the loss of a spouse. But not everyone gets blessed like Diane and I and some of my friends I mentioned. To have someone again, to love again, that give love meaning, to know that God loved us first, to know that I have to move a few things, to know to give everything, to know that the purpose in life is to love and to be with someone and to have the courage to walk forward and in the arms of the beautiful woman I'll marry in 6 months. The takeaway is from the number one song that I picked from Phantom of the Opera, and it says, Wherever you go, may I go too. That's all I ask of you. That's really it. Wherever she goes, wherever Diana goes, I want to go too. That's all I ask. I don't need the riches. I don't need a fancy car. I don't even need a fancy meal. And I hope all of you today, listening in the classroom, on air, can say that to your significant other, that wherever you go, may I go too. That's all I ask of you. So I want to thank you all for joining us today and being patient with Jock and I with doing these programs. Next week is going to be Salute to Black History Month. And I'm going to change the closing. Be a good Valentine to the person you love, because all the other Valentines are taken. Jock, can you play this cool song? Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.